At some point, every love story loses its glow, not through a single betrayal or a loud fight, but through a quiet shift inside you. The same words are spoken, the same gestures are offered, yet something in you no longer answers to them the way it once did. You start asking a hard question: why doesn't this feel the way it used to? The honest answer isn't that you've grown cold or hardened. It's that you're waking up. You're starting to see that what felt like fate might have been something else entirely. That the intensity you called sacred had roots that were less about destiny and more about need. Waking up doesn't harden the heart, it clears the fog. And once the fog lifts, everything looks different, especially love. There's a real grief in this clarity. You're mourning the version of you who believed without question. But that innocence was never meant to be permanent. It was a stage, not a failure. In the early days of love, the other person seems lit from within, special, magnetic, somehow holding answers to questions you never asked out loud. Every glance, every silence feels loaded with meaning. But look closer, and you'll notice that glow isn't coming from them. It's coming from you. What we call falling in love is often us projecting our own hidden pieces onto another person. Our buried longings, our old wounds, the parts of ourselves we've lost touch with. The other person becomes a screen we project onto, a stand-in for our own missing pieces. That's why early love can feel so consuming. It isn't just attraction, it's identity. Except it isn't really their identity we're responding to. It's our own, reflected back at us. They become, without realizing it, an imagined fix for something broken in us. And so the relationship doesn't begin as two whole people meeting. It begins as an attempt to become whole through someone else. For a while, this illusion feels wonderful. It papers over the emptiness and convinces us we've finally found our rescuer. But no mind can hold on to a comforting lie forever. Eventually, reality pushes back, and the beautiful picture we built starts to crack. This isn't a betrayal. It's the truth resurfacing. And that cracking point is exactly where waking up becomes possible. It rarely feels peaceful. More often, it feels abrupt and disorienting. The person who once seemed radiant now looks ordinary, flaws and all. Disappointment creeps in. But underneath that disappointment, something healthier is happening. Your mind is repairing itself. Naturally, it resists this. Seeing someone clearly means admitting the magic was something you made, not something they gave you. And that admission can feel frightening because the old story gave your life a sense of purpose. When that story collapses, a heavy emptiness follows. But that emptiness isn't the absence of love. It's simply an illusion ending, and illusions, once gone, don't come back. People sometimes say waking up ruins love. What it actually does is expose the false foundation the love was standing on. Alongside this comes a quiet shame. The discomfort of realizing you mistook your own imagination for reality. But that shame isn't a flaw. It's part of becoming wiser. It marks the shift from drifting through love unconsciously to actually paying attention. Without that shift, love just keeps repeating the same old patterns with nothing new underneath. As uncomfortable as this transition is, it's also freeing. For the first time, you can connect with someone without a fantasy attached, without silently expecting them to complete you. What looks like an ending is, more accurately, a beginning. So much of what gets called passion is really just the noise of our own unresolved pain. Fear, dependency, resentment, insecurity, unmet longing, all speaking at once. None of that disappears just because we bury it. It resurfaces, and relationships are often exactly where it finds its stage. This is how some relationships stop offering comfort and start feeling like weight instead. Jealousy gets mistaken for devotion. Controlling behavior gets relabeled as care, and constant turmoil gets mistaken for depth. Our unresolved side feeds on chaos. It needs friction to feel alive. In relationships shaped this way, love becomes less about connection and more about avoidance. Dodging loneliness, dodging emptiness, dodging old pain. We think we're reaching toward another person, but often we're really facing a mirror, one that reflects exactly the parts of ourselves we'd rather not examine. What makes this pattern so convincing is how real it feels in the moment. Loud, emotional, certain. But volume isn't depth. It's just pressure, and pressure eventually cracks whatever it's placed on. Relationships built on unhealed wounds rarely fall apart from a lack of feeling. They collapse under everything that was felt, but never said. The real starting point of waking up is taking responsibility for your own inner state. It's realizing that no partner can fill a void you refuse to face yourself. This is the fork in the road. Love stops being a cure, all and starts being something real, something with limits. Not every relationship survives that shift. But the ones built on illusion rarely could have lasted anyway. Once you've woken up, love stops arriving like a storm. It no longer promises to rescue you or carry you away. Instead, it becomes quiet, unhurried, steady. People often mistake that calm for a loss of passion, but it's actually something rarer. Post-awakening love doesn't come from lack. It grows out of a sense of wholeness you already have. There's no urgency, no desperate bargain to save or complete each other. Two people simply meet as they are, without disguises, without needing to lean on one another to stay upright. This kind of love can feel unfamiliar at first. There's no dizzy high to hide inside, no dramatic story to hold on to. What's left is honesty, and honesty takes real courage. It asks both people to stay grounded in the present and own their part in the relationship. That's often why people who've been through this awakening come across as more reserved or deliberate. They aren't withdrawn. They've simply learned to observe before reacting, to stop confusing intensity with closeness or pain with intimacy. They recognize dependency for what it is and won't build something on top of it. This kind of love never promises forever, but it offers something arguably better: truth. It doesn't ask for sacrifice. It offers choice. And because it has no performance in it, it can go unnoticed by people who are still chasing drama. Yet it's the version of love that tends to hold. Waking up often brings a period of solitude, not because love has disappeared, but because the illusion has. When the story we built collapses, the relationships tied to that story often end with it. This isn't emptiness so much as a chance to gather yourself back together. In this space, your sense of self stops, depending on whether someone else chooses you. You become your own steady ground. The noise quiets, and for the first time, you learn to simply be with yourself without distraction. That kind of solitude can feel unsettling at first because it strips everything away. But underneath the discomfort is something valuable to pull to: fall. For someone starts to fade. Falling, after all, means losing your footing, disappearing into a fantasy, forgetting who you are. People who've woken up don't want that anymore. They want steadiness and clear sight. Instead of falling, they choosing calm over chaos, honesty over illusion, and quiet over performance. When love does show up again, it's no longer a survival strategy. It's welcomed as a companion, not a rescuer. That's part of why this kind of love is so rare. It needs two people capable of standing on their own, meeting without pretense, and staying together without trying to possess one another. Few people choose that path, but those who do end up with something durable, something that holds even if the relationship itself doesn't last. After this shift, a different fear tends to surface. Not the fear of being alone, but the fear of dissolving into someone else. It's a subtle fear, often mistaken by others as distance or coldness. In truth, it's self-respect. People who've been through this have learned, often the hard way, how easily identity gets lost when love becomes the entire point of a life. From here on, love isn't something that simply happens to you. It's something you actively choose to take part in. The real question shifts from, "I feeling enough?" to, "Can I stay myself while loving someone else?" That single shift changes everything. You stop chasing relationships that swallow your attention, unsettle your peace, or constantly demand reassurance. What once felt exciting now just feels exhausting. With this new clarity comes a sharper instinct, the ability to tell whether an attraction is genuine or just an old craving resurfacing. You start to notice when closeness is really an old wound looking for familiar shapes to repeat. And so you pause, not out of fear of connection, but out of refusal to abandon yourself again. Loving without losing yourself takes real courage. It means staying close while keeping your own shape, caring without gripping, opening up without erasing who you are. It means letting love exist without making it the whole foundation of your identity. This kind of love doesn't tether, it walks beside you. It doesn't need constant proof, it trusts in the act of staying. And oddly, it's precisely when love stops being used to validate your worth that it becomes truly powerful. Not an escape from yourself, but a space shared between two people who were already complete before they met. People who've woken up haven't stopped loving. They've simply stopped performing. And in that clarity, love shifts from something you fall into to something you consciously, steadily choose.